So for this example, I want to show you how to use the pad feature. So I'm going to start out by sketching a cube, so a rectangle that has equal sides. I'm going to center it on the origin, just so I can show you how the mirrored extent works, and center my cube on the origin. We're going to exit the sketch, select the pad feature, and under dimension, we'll select our length. And then notice that when we select the mirrored extent, what it's going to do is essentially duplicate that dimension on the other side. We don't really want it doubled, so we're going to reduce that dimension to half. And that gives us our cube centered on the origin. Now I'd like to show you how to add multiple paths onto an existing one. So what we're going to do is use a surface that is a flat surface, enter into sketch mode on that surface, and then just add our sketch like we would on one of our reference planes. So here I want one of the edges out down at the bottom corner to meet and then extend on the other three sides. So we're going to just go ahead and dimension those and then add a coincident relationship to the bottom. Set a distance constraint between halfway to the origin so that it's centered, and then add a coincident relationship to the bottom. Now we can just go ahead and set a 0 distance dimension on the bottom to make it coincident. Then we're going to use the pad feature like normal and set a dimensional value and enter to complete that. And now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom surface. I want to go ahead and orient this to how I typically would expect it to show. So if you go under the Views tab and select the bottom surface, it'll give you that orientation like you expect. Now I'm just going to add coincident relationships to the three sides. Just a little shortcut so I don't have to set that dimension again. And now simply want to add the depth dimension. Now that we're ISO constrained, we'll go ahead and exit the sketch and then pad it using the same pad as the backside. So now that gives us our cube with side panels. I want to talk about a drafted filleted pad. So we're going to start by sketching on the front plane a square that's 100 by 100. And I'm going to exit the sketch, flip over into the drafted filleted pad feature, and then I'm going to build that up 100 and then add a 10 millimeter draft to it so it's going to expand outward 10 millimeters on each side. And then I'm going to add a 10 millimeter fillet around the edges, around the lateral edges. And okay, that's our drafted filleted pad. Now we're going to look at the multi-pad. And what we're going to do is create 2 closed loops on our front plane. And this time you just got to make sure that they don't overlap. They have to be their own separate loops. We're going to do 2 squares. First one's going to be 100 by 100. And then I'm going to place a diamond inside of it. It's going to be 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters and centered on the origin. We're going to make this coincident to get it fully defined. And then exit the sketch. So with the multi-pad feature, so first I'm going to pick the interior section and we're going to dimension it 100. And then we'll choose the exterior one and dimension it 50 just so that it only goes halfway up. And that gives us our final object.